There are exactly 55 days left until a special election to choose Alabama's next U.S. Senator to replace the seat vacated by now U.S. Attorney Jeff Sessions. The race pitting Republican Roy Moore against Democrat Doug Jones just got a little interesting, too. Joining us now, Steve Flowers, political analyst here at CBS 42. Let's talk about this new poll from Fox News that shows Doug Jones and Roy Moore in a virtual tie at 39%.
Well, it is impressive with us being such a Republican state, but we said during the primary, Sherry, that there were a lot of detractors to Roy Moore, and there are a lot of defections among Republican voters, especially upscale and urban Republican voters, more urbane voters. Now, I'll say one caveat about that poll. It is a poll of all elected and qualified voters. That's a different thing than likely voters. Qualified voters and likely voters are different things. As
opposed to, I read how many people were kind of motivated to vote. It said like 30% of those people, right. 32% were likely going to go vote on that day. So not everybody, and we know that these elections have been poorly attended for all practical purposes.
And that's the key to this election, just like the primary was, is turnout. Who shows up to vote? It's a special election, so you just don't know. It's not your normal thing where people feel obligated to get out and vote. But there again, that is to Doug Jones's advantage in this regard, in that it becomes more like a mayoral race where you don't declare your party. You know, they've got one race, so you can't categorize Jones easily as a liberal Democrat. You know, where they can say, oh, he's a Democrat, I'm not voting Democratic. They almost are like going to vote for either Roy Moore or Doug Jones.
Well, if you're driving around town, what you see are a lot of Doug Jones signs in places. In fact, we just had a story the other day in an area of Homewood where someone had been taking signs out of people's yards that were Doug Jones signs that have been replaced. But I'm not seeing a lot of that around this urban metro area.
Sure, what I'm seeing is what I said earlier, that in upscale neighborhoods in Birmingham, Montgomery, where I've been, I'm seeing Doug Jones signs in Republican neighborhoods. So there is a lot of that going on, and that probably accrues to the fact that why he's close in the polls in the whole eligible voters. And again, I'll repeat myself, but it's like they, you know, it depends on who shows up. And he can't be easily identified, like if people go in there and they customarily vote for all Republicans. Let's say a voter in Homewood, this is like a mayor's race. They don't really think of Doug Jones maybe as a Democrat. And I tell you where Moore's campaign has made a big, big faux pas. First of all, a lot of people don't like him, and he's categorized as a social person who's going to be an ineffective senator. But furthermore, if you are in the catbird seat in the leadership, you and I have noticed this, and I'm sure our viewers have too, there's some very good Doug Jones ads going on. So he is beginning to become identified with voters. Voters are beginning to know who he is, whereas he started out about 10% name ID. These are good ads, and if they let him get along with these ads, you're supposed to kill someone off with negative ads to begin with.
Well, let's talk about, so these are some local ads that we have been seeing on Doug Jones that are running. Today, Roy Moore is in a Time.com magazine online article where they've kind of profiled him. And of course, there's a story circulating today. We'll have that a little later in our newscast about what he said that's drawing a little fire. So he, in some ways, he's known on this national level. I found the poll interesting that it said among Republican voters, those who said they would vote for Moore, 42% said they were voting a party line. Only 20% said because of their Christian values that they would choose Roy Moore. Is that surprising to you?
It's sometimes hard to determine if their party line, they're saying I'm Christian too. So it's hard, you know, that you read too much into that. I think that probably someone who says I'm not normally a partisan Republican may say, well, because I go to the First Baptist Church, I'm a Republican. and they really are very religious, you know. So nevertheless, you know, Moore's making an error by being cavalier and not making up with the Republican hierarchy, people like Richard Shelby and Mitch McConnell, who he cavalierly ignored and snubbed when he went to Washington, and instead went to see this guy Bannon.
Because he's still trying to cast himself as an outsider, right?
Well, he is, but the fact of the matter is, if he doesn't start spending some money and defining Doug Jones as a liberal Democrat, then the average person and Wetumpka is going to look at Doug Jones and say, well, he's like a pretty good guy to me. Looks like my next door neighbor. You know, I like him. He's talking about good things. I always thought that Roy Moore was crazy anyway, so I may vote for him.
So you think that this close poll is close because of the way Doug Jones is running his campaign right now? This is a smart thing that he's doing.
Well, I don't want to give you free publicity for television, but that's exactly how television works. If you've got good ads, and he's had good ads running about two weeks, my belief is this is a result of those ads.
Okay. Steve Flowers, political analyst here at CBS 42, giving us his take on the latest poll showing Doug Jones and Roy Moore in a dead heat 55 days before the election.